I'm meteorologist John Dawson. This is the Fox 26 YouTube tropical update. And if you've been following along here, if you're not new, then you know that we like to dive into things because the newscast just doesn't allow us enough time to really discuss what's going on. And today is going to be one of those prime examples where we're really going to kind of look at two models and really kind of compare things and really talk about some of the things that the folks at the National Hurricane Center are really looking at in order to make that official track that they're providing for us and have a lot of reliability and feeling pretty confident in that track. Although at the end of it, they are saying in their messaging that there is some uncertainty that's a little bit unusual because of all the things that are sort of coming together. So let's start though with a quick review of kind of where we are, what's happening out there. Of course, Ian in the Caribbean is where we're going to be spending the majority of our time in just a moment, but I want to just sort of review what else is happening out there. We have a tropical wave that the Hurricane Center is looking at sort of out in the central portions of the Atlantic. This is a tropical wave that they're saying has a 30% chance over the next 5 days of developing into a tropical cyclone. So that's something that's, again, you can see how it's kind of popping on in our loop a little bit late. That's what we're going to be looking at in the future. Gaston is still out there as well, still kind of just doing circles out in the northern Atlantic, not really bothering a whole lot of people, maybe some shipping routes there of some cargo or perhaps, but for the most part, Gaston's really not impacting a lot of folks. Still a tropical storm, still not really maintaining or decreasing its strength or organization, and it's sort of doing some loops out there. And again, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on Gaston today because I do definitely want to focus on what's happening over with Ian. So getting a closer look in the Caribbean, now beginning to enter the western portions, and this is really that area where the anticipation is that this rapid intensification is going to be taking place with the warm sea surface temperatures along with the winds in the upper levels sort of cooperating all together, and just not a lot of other forces that are messing with it. You know, hurricanes are very, very powerful systems, but to be honest, they don't really like to mess around with other features much, and they're, I don't want to say easily steerable, but they normally will always sort of take the path of least resistance. So they are somewhat not always plowing their way through other systems that are around it. So what we're finding here is just a prime environment for that intensification to take place, becoming a stronger storm. And again, it's going to begin taking a little bit more of a northerly track. The Cayman Islands are definitely something that needs to be concerned for those damaging winds that are going to be happening. And then as we sort of switch now, and we'll take a look at the official forecast track now from the Hurricane Center. So if you're clicking and you're not sure what day it is that I'm talking about, let's clarify. This is Sunday. This is the afternoon update, the 4 p.m. update. So if this is Monday or Tuesday, then you're a day behind. Hopefully you're with us within a 24-hour period or so, and we'll be taking a look at these winds really increasing in its strength. I think the speed is going to stay about the same for a while with the track changing just a little bit more northerly now. We're now looking at a 12-mile-an-hour movement speed, forward speed from the west-northwest. And again, the winds within that storm, the maximum sustained winds are 45 miles an hour. And we'll see this continue to track a little bit, eventually curving, I said, up a little bit more to the north. So going to hit Cuba pretty hard here. So all of the threats that a major hurricane can bring will be happening for the western edges or end of Cuba, getting out into the Gulf of Mexico on Tuesday early afternoon as a Category 3 hurricane. And then as we progress a little bit further, we make it even up to a Category 4 hurricane strength. And then as it begins to approach Florida, and this is where some of that certainty becomes a little less, is the interaction with a front that's going to be moving through and actually going to bring some pleasant weather for us here in southeast Texas. But as we talked about, Ian doesn't necessarily want to just plow and go right through that front. It's going to be sort of slowed down a little bit. It's going to be sort of broken down a little bit and even steered just a little bit. But there's still some question marks on that front, exactly what it's going to do. So when all this sort of starts interacting, some of that confidence lessens a little bit on a standard track like this. So we're just pointing out again, we're on Thursday early afternoon, 100-mile-an-hour winds, sustained winds with Ian as it continues to begin to get closer to the west coast of Florida. So let's talk a little bit about what goes into that forecast. There's two basic models that are sort of the most famous or the well-known, and I think that a lot of folks kind of rely on just a little bit more than the others. And the Hurricane Center is certainly looking at more than just these two models, but these are the ones that I'm going to show you today. As I said, these are kind of the more popular and better known and very reliable. You could probably make a great argument that these are our most reliable forecast models for tropical systems. And this is going to be, first of all, the GFS, or the American model, that we're going to look at first. This is the one I think that the Hurricane Center's track favors just a little bit more than the second model that we're going to show. So let's sort of look at things here a little bit. We can see that the organization that's taking place as it moves through time, getting even stronger, more organized. Remember, we're expecting it to be a hurricane here once we get into the Monday afternoon, going right across the western edges of Cuba. Again, this is a little bit further west than what the official track is, getting much stronger once it gets out here into the Gulf of Mexico. Remember, when we're going to pause it here, this is going to be Wednesday at around 2 p.m. And then we're going to continue to see that the track takes it a little bit more. Watch how it sort of leans towards the panhandle of Florida a little bit more than it does over on the west coast of the peninsula necessarily. So this is Thursday at 3 p.m. So just note that the center is still out over water Thursday at 3 p.m. and continuing to track north more into the panhandle. So switching now to the European model, the Euro or the European model is the one that we want to talk about for just a minute. We'll see how this is going to move through. Although my title here is saying that this is the GFS, I've got that mislabeled. I want to stress that this should be the European model that we're looking at, and we'll go ahead and roll through time a little bit. And you'll notice, again, this is how things are moving in much more into the west coast, not into the panhandle. So let me stress, I've got my title here messed up. This is not the GFS or the American model. This is the European model, the Euro, that I'm showing you right now. And Thursday, 3 p.m., remember that's our time frame that we're dealing with, the pausing point that we really want to look. Thursday at 3 p.m., we already have a landfall, and it's much more on that west coast of the peninsula of Florida instead of up into the panhandle. So I'm going to say it one more time, and I apologize for my mistake. This is not the GFS or America model. This is the European model, the Euro, and it is a different track. It takes it further to the east. It's a little quicker because it makes that landfall faster as well. So reviewing again that forecast track from the National Hurricane Center, this is the official track as we see it be developing into a hurricane by Monday afternoon, makes its landfall during the earlier morning hours on Tuesday into Cuba. Getting into Tuesday afternoon, it's a hurricane, a major hurricane. And then remember, this track, again, it favors that GFS track a little bit more in the fact that it takes it up towards the panhandle instead of over into Tampa, which is where the European model took it a little bit on Thursday in the afternoon. So as I mentioned, the Hurricane Center is looking at a lot more information besides just these two models, but that kind of gives you an idea, I think, of what they're looking at a little bit as far as having to sort of piece this together with all of that information. It's much more of a confidence when some of our models are all sort of in more of agreement, but when they disagree like that a little bit, and always there's going to be human interpretation of what goes into that forecast track from the Hurricane Center, but a lot going in there. So again, the GFS was the first model I showed you, the European was the second model that I showed you. And it's sort of that difference of that west or east edges of that cone that sort of helps define that cone just a little bit. Hey, glad you found us on YouTube today. We're always here every afternoon, a little bit after that 4 p.m. update. Make sure you check back and find us again here for tomorrow.